Good morning, everyone. Welcome to 2025. I hope the beginning of the year is going well for everybody. We're off and running here at Wampus. This week already we've had our community meetings with each grade level to talk about being your best self, which is always a fun conversation when the kids come up to the microphone and share things they've done over the break and kind of what their resolutions and goals are for 2025. And also we had a wonderful fifth grade concert last evening, which was a full house to capacity. So we're off and running here, and we have many things to look forward to. And the one thing we're going to talk about today is computer-based testing. If you're not familiar, this is now our third year of computer-based testing. New York State mandated that by, I believe it's next year, all school districts in the state are no longer paper-based testing, they are computer-based. We decided to kind of move forward with that when we first heard about it. 2 years ago we did fourth and fifth grade, and then that was quite successful. And then last year we did third grade. So we're fully implemented along with the middle school for computer-based testing. So it'll be new for third graders this year, obviously, because they haven't taken the state test, but our fourth and fifth graders are well versed in it and ready to go. Our teachers are already practicing with it. We have a simulation at the end of the month, which Ms. Palmer will talk about a little bit, but we are there. We are in the era now of computer-based testing. Kind of agree or disagree, it's the way it is. But we've had a lot of continued success with our state tests. Last year, again, we were in the top 2 to 5% in the entire state, and the top 2% in science in fifth grade, so we feel good about it. We were wondering if there was going to be a little regression because of the computer-based testing. The state did see that. We didn't, which is great, which I think means that the kids are prepared from home and in school. So we're getting ready to do it, and I'm going to pass it over to Ms. Palmer to talk more about our computer-based testing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Palmer.
No problem. Good morning. To echo Mr. Mack, we do a lot of work really just trying to make sure that the students are ready, the teachers are ready, and as a school that we are prepared for the CBT, computer-based testing. Now with that, the simulation has a lot to do with that. Primarily it's just practice, right? Though it looks very much the same, we try to make sure all the systems are still in place. What we want to make sure is that the technology is ready, right, as far as our systems, which never fail. We've been doing a great job. And the students have exactly what they need, right? So for this year, it will take place January 30th. And this year we're doing math, and it is school-wide, as Mr. Mack said, grades 3 through 5. Now, while the practice CBT, the simulation, is that day, the actual test for this year, ELA, will take place on Tuesday and Wednesday, April 8th and 9th. Math will be April 29th and 30th, Tuesday and Wednesday. And science, fifth grade only, will be on Wednesday, May 14th. Now, just to really go over what the CBT is, it really is just practice, right? Keeping it simple, it's low stakes, it's a dry run. There is no scoring, so as the students do take the test, they don't see the results. The teachers don't see the results. A lot of times, just from that perspective, what the state does, it takes old tests and really just reuse them and put them in this format so that, again, the students and the teachers are used to it. And from a teacher's point of view, I will say that is what the teachers do as well. They take the test just so that students are used to the content, the way the questions are stated. So again, this is really just a matter of ensuring that the testing devices are up to date and administering the different accommodations, the login tickets, and all the nuts and bolts that make everything work. And of course, providing students with that opportunity so that there is like an ease as they go into this process. It's only about 40 minutes, whereas the actual test might take a bit longer. These 40 minutes, the students really just have a class period or two just to make sure that they are calm in going through the process. Okay, so here are the nuts and bolts of what it kind of looks like. So here are some sample screens. The students will be able to pick whatever it is that is available, I've already put in the system that we're doing math. So they're just going to be doing math according to their grade level, and just some familiar screens as far as how do you know that you're working, how do you know that you are paused or signed in or out. The screens really do provide step-by-step instructions for the students so that they know what they're doing. And while the simulation is a practice of the test, it's a state practice where there's a window of time, the teachers have already been practicing it. So the students are already familiar with these screens and the directions. And I'll go over a few of those with you in a bit. So here we have some of the tools that are available for the screen. We have the ability to zoom in and out, bookmark specific questions, just like you would with a regular test where here's number 45, I'm not really sure about this, I think I need some more time to go back. Students are able to bookmark it, move on, and then the system does provide the students with a few reminders to go back. So again, the CBT system has been tweaked over time and definitely provides students with the tools that they need so that they are more successful. They're able to write notes, highlight, and even line-by-line readers, and process of elimination with the multiple choice. You know, we always say A, B, C, D. 1 makes absolutely no sense. 2 might make sense in some situation. It's always down to 2. So the same test-taking strategies that teachers teach students for paper-based tests, the system allows students to utilize a lot of that. And now for students that have IEPs or 504 plans, there are specific accommodations that are also available for those students. So whether it's answer masking, reverse contrast, so instead of black lettering on a white background, white lettering on a black background, zooming, background color, and text to speech. As well as other things like having someone read the test to them. So again, the list really is, I won't say extensive, but definitely very specific to the students' needs. Whether it be students that are in whatever setting that they are in. Now, content area tools. So the tools do differ, whether it's ELA or math. As you can see from math, there are a bit more, which is why we're choosing to use math, do the math test for the simulation, just again to give students more experience with these tools. So ELA, you have those that I noted before, like a bookmark, note, and highlighter. For math, more specifically, you'll have a calculator, a ruler, a protractor, and a line reader. So again, very specific to the content. Now, let's see what that would look like for an ELA test. I know it's kind of difficult to see this part, but something as simple as this line bar, if you move it to the left or right, you can make the text larger. You can focus more on the multiple choice options. Again, the students are getting step-by-step practice in how to use these tools if they need to use these tools, right? Any questions so far? Okay. All right, math, for example, there are drawing tools because, we always say, show your work, show your work. It's always a struggle, but here, I have to say students are learning how to use the tools within the system, and you can see everything from addition, subtraction, multiple choice, division, to lesser than, greater than, pi. We're not in pi yet, but again, everything is available there, even fractions. And our math specialists really do work with the students and the teachers to make sure that they're prepared and they know how to use these tools. Okay, now remember before I said, if a student wanted to go back to a question, and so they would bookmark it, or they might write notes or those small notations. When a student feels as though they are finished, right, there is a review screen that highlights certain questions. So for example, if they did not answer all the questions, it will note that, what they've answered, if they've bookmarked anything, and notes. So there are built-in systems to help students make sure that they do their best, so that they are attentive and they do answer all of the questions. And yet again, they say do it again, because of course, you know, repetition is key sometimes. And so there is, once a student submits a test, they can, there is one more screen that comes on that says, hold on, there is still one question you did not answer. And they do that, they will of course go back, address it, and then submit the test. There's something that says that the test is submitted, and that's it, okay? And with that, during that time, of course, teachers are actively proctoring, walking around, making sure that they're helping students with the mechanics of the test. So again, there's constantly support for our students every step of the way. Now again, practice, practice, practice. I will say that the students and the teachers have been practicing how to take these tests from last year. Moving on, for 4th and 5th grade, I will say that they did it last year, so it's definitely there's a lot of familiar pieces for them. And 3rd grade, being the first year that they are taking the test, they start earlier, right? A lot of the supports are in place to make sure that they are indeed successful. Yes.
So what I've observed at home is a lot of the ELA homework looks kind of similar tools, where they're reading it like storybooks or something like that, and they can highlight it and they have questions. For math, what I've seen at home is more still paper-based, and they're writing out their different strategies and coloring and drawings. So it's just an observation. I don't know if you have thoughts on, but for math, are they allowed to have scrap paper?
Yes.
To work it
Yes.
out? Okay.
So there is 2 things. One, within the math test, there is that hand drawing tool, right, that really mirrors the show your work and drawing options. And there, for each test, so for ELA, they get lined scrap paper. There's graph paper. There are different supports. In fact, for 5th grade, there is an actual reference sheet that has some of the formulas and things like that they would use. So in as much as is feasible from school to home and home to school, and without home having to provide more than what might be available, students do get what they need either way.
I think you bring up a good point too,
Yeah.
because when we look at when our curriculums were adopted, right, we've had investigations, I think we're year 10 from when we started at Coleman Hill, or maybe 9, pre-COVID, pre-pandemic. We adopted Wonders in the middle of the pandemic, in part due to the online component of it. And the online component of what you're seeing at home when they're doing homework, we're able to have that through the curriculum, right? They're doing online homework, right, which kind of correlates with this. It's part of the reason why we choose the math as a simulation too, because there are tools they use. You know, 5th grade's using they're using a ruler, they're using something else. Protractor, right? Where 3rd grade doesn't use that. So that's why we've chosen that. So the state allows you to choose one of the 2 for the simulation, and that's part of the reason, because you're right, the kids are more exposed to the online version of ELA as compared to math. So it's an interesting thing moving forward. You know, we love the investigation programs. We think it's the feedback we continuously get from the middle schools. They're well prepared, so we don't want to lose that. But I would say Wonders does have more of an online component to it. So it's like, you don't want to like overly too focus on the state test, but it's like, okay, there's kind of a point to that, right? So, you know, I don't know where we're going to go from it. We love investigations. I don't see us going away from it anytime soon, but it is a good question, you know, because that is, the reality is kids are testing on computers now, regardless of who we like it or not, right? That's not going away. And that's kind of part of the reason why we choose the math too. I know Ms. Palmer said it, but simulation, just for everybody, if your child is not in school on January 30th, there is no makeup. We have to pick a date with the state. That's when we do simulation. The state wants to know that districts can handle the bandwidth of all of it, right? Which we have successfully, but there is no makeup. But teachers are working with kids through practice exams. If you miss the actual test, there is a pretty small makeup window. Obviously, that's where we're going to send this information out. It's on the district calendar and all that, but sometimes kids get sick. There are makeup days, but it's not a big window. So no makeups or simulation, and makeups free.
Yes. All right, and I'm gonna officially now hand over back to Mr.
All right, so just thank you, Ms. Palmer. So that was the one thing I want to say, and about the simulation, no makeup. The other thing that I think is interesting is, over the past 4 or 5 years, when we get feedback from the state on state exam results, right, it's been a variety of times that we get that information, right, and that drives some of our academic support services, depending on how children do. It started to come back a little bit sooner. Like, I look back 2 years ago, I think we got actual results, it was like mid-October. We're like a third of fourth of the way through the year, and we're getting results from the state. So my hope, again, I'm not gonna say, hey, I really love the online or dislike it, but I think what will happen is once all the districts are fully implemented, we will be getting feedback much quicker. Our hope is that we get feedback even before the end of the school year, which will then drive our decision making over the summer to structure our academic supports from the very beginning of the year. That now brings me over to the STAR Universal Screener, right? So now we have this another data point, right? Because we don't want to say, hey, we're putting all of our decisions in the state test, right? Which is not true, but it is a good data point, right? Now we have the STAR Universal Screener that's given 3 times a year. We're actually in the second window right now. I don't know if your kids have come home and said they've started to do it or not yet. 3rd and 4th have started, 5th is starting next week. But we have more data points on students now to drive our decision making on who needs extra support, who may qualify for enrichment, right? It's just another very consistent data point that once this starts to come back quicker, along with STAR, we have what we need to really drive our instruction and decision making. So that's kind of the hope of having the online component of all this, the computer-based. We're getting there. The one question that comes up is, well, why we're doing the computer-based, why don't we get results sooner? Because it's a statewide thing, right? There's plenty of districts throughout the state are not there yet for a variety of reasons. So they can't release results sooner because they're still dealing with pen and paper, pencil and paper for some districts. But
So this is the last year?
I think next year actually is, I believe, I don't know exactly, but it's either this year or next year where everyone has to, and there's a lot of, I mean, you hear from, districts around the state, there's a lot of challenges with that for a variety of reasons. It's simply the size of the district or technology concern, whatever it may be. Thankfully, that's not our concern, which is great. What else? Any other questions about the state exams? 5th grade does science, so 5th grade throughout the year, starting 2 years ago, required to do the New York State investigations in science, not to be confused with our math program investigations. They're essentially labs. There's 4 labs they have to do, and they're doing them all in 5th grade. We were, the last couple of years, figuring out what grade level, can we fit it in here. 5th grade determined they want to do them all in 5th grade, so then they're best prepared for the state exam, because some of those questions on the state exam are based from the work that they did. So they're doing those, and the science exam last year we did very, very well. But that was new last year, the 5th grade science exam, where it used to be in 4th grade. They took 1 year off where there was no science test in elementary school, and now it's in 5th for the 2nd year. So that's kind of where we're at with state exams. They will be upon us, so they come quickly. They really do. They really do.
When they're in HCC, this is the same system they'll use for the
Same
test,
system.
right?
Yep, same system. Yep. And last year, Crittenden, the first year we implemented in 4th and 5th, they implemented it in 1 grade. I can't remember which one, but then last year it was which one? 7. Last year they did all 3 grades, and we did all 3 grades. We did it all at the same time. There was no issues with technology. Technology's been super supportive, and it went great. And we have technology department members in each hallway in case the teachers have questions or a kid can't log in. I mean, those little things happen, but we reset everything. We update everything. We had a faculty meeting the other day. And our third year in doing it, I don't think there was any questions. Right, first year, there's a lot of questions. I mean, we had a lot of questions. And once we've done it once, so the kids are more comfortable than we are. They're like, oh yeah, computer-based test, whatever. It's just kind of the way it's going. Any other questions about anything? As I said earlier, we're on the second part of the STAR Universal Screeners. So parents will get those next set of assessment results in the parent portal. We will let everyone know when that'll be released. I would anticipate in the next month or so we'll have completed that. we'll send a note out to the parents letting them know, hey, your second window is done. If you want to access your results, it would be the same way you access your results from the state exams in the fall. So that'll be in the parent portal. And then our last and third window for that will be towards the end of the year. So we're getting some good, strong data to look at and really drive our instruction. All right. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for everyone watching on Bobcat TV.